Welcome to a brand new episode of This Week in Apps. I'm Ariel from Appfigures with your weekly roundup of the most interesting updates from the world of mobile apps and games. I know how much you like the most downloaded apps and games section that I do every month, and I'll get to those in a bit. It's that time. But let's start with a more immediate trend. Everyone is talking about the high cost of gas here in the US, and with good reason. Prices have gone up so much, they're now around $5 across much of the country. Insanity. I remember when it was just $1. That's me. Demand for two apps that help with lowering the cost of gas is on the rise this week. The two apps include GasBuddy, a crowdsourced service where drivers report gas prices in different stations so you can find the cheapest option. I've talked about them before. And Upside, a service that offers cash back on gas. Kind of cool. Although they're different, the two end up doing pretty much the same thing, saving you money on gas, and that's what a lot of people want these days. How many people? According to estimates, combined downloads of the pair rose more than 3x in April, hitting an average of nearly 200,000 downloads a day over the last few days. They averaged 60,000 in early April, in case you're comparing, and while we're at it, the daily average in January was just about a half. Things are strange right now in many ways, which means there are and will be more opportunities for many apps. The key is that you have to be ready for when the opportunity comes. Is your app ready? And speaking of opportunities, I look at the top charts quite often, as you would expect. And lately, I've been seeing a lot more of one app that I really didn't think would be all that popular, but apparently is. PictureThis identifies plants using your phone's camera, something newer iPhones do out of the box. I can see the use for this, but I just didn't expect it to be so popular, so I just had to look at its revenue, and I'm really glad I looked. According to our estimates, PictureThis ended May with more than $13 million of net revenue from the App Store and Google Play. 13 million. Looking at the trend, it's clear that May kicks off the hot season for PictureThis, and the revenue is pretty seasonal, but this season is way better than ever before. Compared to May of 2020, revenue is up 270%. The competition is barely showing single-digit growth. So, how is the competition? Well, they're not even remotely close. PictureThis beats its closest competitors on revenue, current revenue, and also on revenue growth over the last few years. So, why PictureThis? I initially thought it had to do with pricing. If they charge more, they're going to make more money if they have the downloads. But that's not the case. All three cost pretty much the same amount. So then I was thinking maybe it has to do with how well it's turning downloads into money, which got me excited. We can get a rough proxy for how well an app converts by dividing revenue by downloads. And over a long enough period of time, this gives insightful results. And this is where we see the difference. The revenue per download of PictureThis is $6.68. Is that a lot? Let's compare to the competition. Its closest competitor, Plantain, earns $3.71 per download, and Blossom and Nature ID are even lower with $2.25 and $2.05 respectively. So a half, and then a third, and then less than a third. So clearly PictureThis is doing a way better job converting. Well done. According to our ad intelligence, PictureThis is also advertising heavily in the App Store with Apple search ads and out of the App Store on various ad networks, giving it a significant advantage in terms of downloads. And what we have here is lots of downloads, a higher revenue per download, and that gives PictureThis the upper hand, and by far. How's your app or game compared to its competitors on revenue per download? Head on to Appfigures.com to find out if you don't know already. I'll drop a link in the description so you can check it out later. Let's switch over to games. If you're a gamer or an old-timer, the name Diablo should be familiar to you. I'm at least one of those things, and I'll let you guess which one. Drop it in the comment. So I've been waiting patiently for Blizzard to release Diablo for quite a while. And now that the game's been released and has been live for a few days, it's time to see how it's doing. For that, we'll dip into our revenue estimates. In its first week, Diablo Immortal, which was developed for mobile first, or mobile only I think they wanted, and wasn't even supposed to be on PC, but it is in beta now, has earned a whopping $6.5 million of net revenue according to our estimates. And that's what Blizzard gets to keep after giving Apple and Google their fees. Most of the revenue was generated in the US, which contributed roughly 53% to the total. Japan, South Korea, Germany, and the UK were the top 5 countries by revenue. Store-wise, Google Play added about 30% of the total, with the App Store being responsible for the larger portion, so not a real surprise here. But here's the thing. Many gamers who play Diablo Immortal complained online about the game's constant need for microtransactions, and how things get very expensive and progress requires a big wallet. That seems to me like something more free-to-play games with big brand names behind them are trying to do these days, and I can't really fault them. Monetizing is hard. Advertising has become more expensive thanks to Apple's app tracking transparency, and the competition is already optimized, so they have to do something. Now, I expect the trend to go in that direction for more games, especially if it works, and in this case, I think it works. And while we're talking about games, this week I crunched the numbers and ranked the most downloaded games in the world in May. We've arrived. Your favorite section. I know. So let's get hyper casual. Subway Surfers was the most downloaded game in the world in May. The classic title added 41 million new users to its user pool, the game's biggest month so far this year. And it's really worth noting that Subway Surfers has been the most downloaded game every month this year. Nice. And while Subway Surfers is a great oldie, the rest of our list is full of new-ish hyper-casuals. Although advertisers continue to complain about Apple's app tracking transparency, it seems that with summer coming, lower return on ad spend just is not scaring them away. Kind of partially expected. Also on this list is a game that launched at the end of May and managed to score quite a few downloads. Enough to get into our list, and that's Apex Legends, which I looked at in last week's episode. If you missed that episode, I'll link to it at the end so you can give it a watch. In May, Apex Legends added 16 million new downloads, leading me to believe we'll be seeing it again in June, probably at a higher rank. Together, the top 10 most downloaded mobile games were downloaded 198 million times in May, according to our estimates. May has been the strongest month for games so far this year. This week, I also crunched the numbers and ranked the most downloaded apps in the world in May. Let's look at the list, which is much like April's, but with bigger numbers. And one surprise. TikTok was again the most downloaded app in the world, making its way into 54 million new iOS and Android devices, while still being banned in India. Fun fact, TikTok has been the most downloaded app in the world every month so far in 2022. I don't think that's changing anytime soon, but unlike in previous months, second place Instagram almost matched its downloads.
That's
when
right.
you round to the nearest million, which is what we do in our graphics, you end up with 54 million downloads for it as well, just a tad bit under TikTok if you don't round it. And that's the first time Instagram got so close to TikTok this year, and a possible sign that it could eventually regain the lead. Maybe? We'll see. Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram, Snapchat, Messenger, and WhatsApp Business make up much of the list. Oh, and CapCut, of course. That was a lot to say in one go. If you look closely, you'll also notice Facebook isn't anywhere in the top 10 in the App Store. That's new. Let's see if that happens again in June. This month, there's a new entrant to the list, fast fashion shopping app Shein. Shein has seen demand grow a lot in 2022, something I looked at a few episodes ago, so I have a feeling we'll see more of it this summer. Together, the top 10 most downloaded apps in the world made their way into 353 million new devices in May, according to our estimates. That's a bunch more than April if you're comparing. Actually, this is the most this year. And that's all I have for you this week. If you have any questions or feedback, drop a comment below and I'll get back to you. And check out last week's episode for Apex Legends launch numbers. And if you want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you next week.